So we moved our routes here, but later you might have many files here. For example, auth routes, you will have one file. For user routes, you might have another. For hotels, you have another. For bookings, you have another. You will have so many files here, right? So it's a bit of a, it's not a problem, but it's a bit of an extra work to import each and every files here and apply as a middleware. Now there is a trick which will allow us to load all the files from this directory. So this routes folder we have, so we can write our code in a way so that all our files from this folder can be required and applied as a middleware, so that we don't have to manually keep importing and apply as a middleware. So let's see how we can do this. So here we need to access the file system, import fs from fs. So this is a module that comes with Node.js. Okay, so when you install Node.js, you have access to fs, which stands for file system. So this is not like Express, you have to install from npm. It comes with Node.js by default. All right, so we access the fs, and then using that we can read this directory. Okay, so let me just write here. So fs, this gives us this function called read directory synchronously. Okay, the reason we're using sync, because we want to make sure we read all the routes. Okay, so that's why we use read directory sync. So we use this function, and this function takes the directory name which we want to read. So in our case, this is routes folder, right? So let's give the path to this folder. So that is /routes. So we want to read this routes folder. Then once we do that, we can map through using map function here, dot map. We can map through all the files that are there. At the moment there is only one, but later you might have 10, doesn't matter. We map through all of them. So using map takes a function as an argument, so we give this arrow function as an argument. All right, so when you map through each files here, each routes in this folder, we get each of them. So let's call that R, short form for routes. So each routes file we get and we apply as a middleware. Okay, so let me remove the parentheses, app.use. So when we map through each of them, we apply each of them as a middleware, just like we did here, app.use /API. Okay, just like we did here. Now this router is going to be this one, right? So here require, we have to use require in this case. So we give the path name of the router path name, and that's going to be /routes, the folder name, routes slash each route. When we read, it could be auth, it could be something else when you have 10 different routes. So that one we get here when we're mapping through each of them, right? So any of those files we can use using $curly brace and just use it like so. So when we're mapping through each file, we get the access, we have access to the file name, so we give that here. So this way you can see we are synchronously reading all the files from this folder and applying as a middleware. Okay, so with this, all the routes will be automatically loaded and we don't have to manually import and use it like so. I did one mistake here. It shouldn't be quotes, it should be backticks. So let me remove that and let me wrap this in backticks. All right, so within this require, we use backticks and we give the path /route / each route here. Okay, perfect. Let's get rid of that, and we don't need to import like so because we are requiring all here within one line of code. Okay, so all we need to do now is give it a try. Okay, it should work. Let's come here, give a refresh, and we have some issues here. So you can see here route looks like I have a typo here. So that should be route. That's with S. Perfect. Let's try. So router.use requires a middleware function but got an object. Now this is another error you might come across all the time when you're working with your server. So this is basically saying that we're not importing and exporting the right way. So instead of receiving it as a function, we got as object. So let's have a look at the router. So let's go to our route auth. Okay, so unfortunately, since we have used require here, we can't use export default. So let's use the standard way, module dot exports equals to router. So that way you have this express router. You have at the moment just one get method. You might have 10, 20 later, doesn't matter. You export this router, okay, and then that is available here, and we have auto loaded all the routes. So now it should work. Let's come here. Okay, so it looks good. Let's try, and sure enough it works. Happy New Year to all. Okay, perfect. Now there is one more thing you can do here. We are only using this one function out of this file system. So this file system has many properties, many functions. We don't need all of them, we just need one. So in that case we can destructure this one instead of importing the whole file system. So we can destructure, and then we can get rid of that and just use read directory sync, that function only. Alright, so let's make sure everything is working perfectly. Beautiful. So in this lecture you learn how to auto load all your routes.